last night was the biggest primary night since Super Tuesday, with voters heading to the polls in Arizona, Florida. Florida was the GOP only. Illinois, Kansas, and Ohio. Now, while the results of the presidential primaries were as expected, there were other key races worth noting, including the lead up to what could perhaps be the most consequential race in the battle for the Senate this November. And here to share the details on that is Matt Carpenter, Director of FRC Action. Matt, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
All right, so before we get into the results of last night's elections results, FRC Action been up on the Hill the last 2 days, delivering thousands of petitions that listeners have been signing.
That's right.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, we've been busy this week delivering petitions to the Hill. Yesterday, we delivered 43,000 signatures to Speaker Mike Johnson, just encouraging the work that they're doing to secure the border, asking them to use all available leverage, everything in their power, to just give the American people some relief from this just torrent of humanity crossing our southern border. We understand the Biden administration is now flying them into this country, and we're just asking, hey, let's use every available means we can to secure the border. And today we delivered 20,000 signatures to Representative Chris Smith, encouraging his excellent work to prevent more funding to UNRWA, which has been involved in the October 7th attack on Israel.
And, we actually, when we were in Israel, we were praying over, actually at the Nova Musical Festival site, praying and really binding those financial dollars coming from the United States to UNRWA. Mm-hmm. And reports are the bill's not out yet, but it does look like they're going to be defunded in this appropriations bill.
Yeah, it does seem like there's some bipartisan consensus there to at least suspend funding temporarily, but we're trying to end that funding altogether.
Well, and we did under the Trump administration, and hopefully under the next administration we'll do the same. But thanks for delivering those. So, folks, if you signed those border petitions or you signed the petition on UNRWA, that was delivered this week. And, of course, we will continue to let your voice be heard on Capitol Hill. So when we put those out there, please be sure and sign them. All right, so what can you tell us about yesterday's election results?
Yeah, well, as you pointed out in your opening remarks, Tony, on the presidential side, there were a lot of contests, not much to report there. They pretty much went as expected. Biden won on the Democratic side and Trump won on the Republican side. But all eyes were really on Ohio. There was an important race on the Republican side to see who was going to face off against Democrat incumbent Sherrod Brown in the Senate race there. So of the 34 Senate seats up for re-election this cycle, 21 are defended by Democrats. And you've got this razor-thin margin in the Senate where 51 Democrats against 49 Republicans. So, you've got states like Ohio and West Virginia, Arizona, Montana with Democrat incumbents or Democrats who previously held it. So Ohio could be a pickup opportunity to decide who controls the Senate come 2025.
I mean, it looks pretty promising for the Republicans going into this election in terms of picking up the Senate.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a target-rich environment if you're on the Republican Senate campaign arm. You got Arizona, there's a competitive race. We just mentioned Ohio, but also Wisconsin and Michigan too, and Pennsylvania, and maybe even Virginia. You never know.
So what do our listeners and our viewers need to be aware of? What's coming up next? What resources do we have available for them that can help those that still need to vote?
Right. So there's a lot of presidential primaries between now and the conventions. The rest of this month is going to be relatively quiet, but the next primaries I've got my eye on is Pennsylvania. April 23rd, they've got some important House and a Senate primary as well to figure out who's going to challenge Bob Casey for that seat. And then next is Indiana, where you've got the congressional primaries as well, a Senate primary, and then also governor, too. So India is one of those states that's going to choose a new governor in 2024. So those are some states for your viewers to be aware of. And I would direct them to visit frcaction.org. We've got excellent resources on how to register to vote. We've got our scorecard there, our party platform comparison documents, and also voter guides that are available.
So there's a link there to go to the iVoter guides that for each of those states that are coming up.
Correct. You just put your zip code in and a customized voter guide will be available for you.
Wow, that's great. Very handy. So go to frcaction.org. And the other resources there, Matt, on FRC Action, in terms of the party platform. Now, this is the old party platform because the parties will not craft their new platforms until this summer when the conventions meet. But it's a good place to start in showing the contrast between the two parties.
Excellent. That's an excellent point, Tony. And all the members who are currently there, data shows about 80% of the members vote with their party. So it does give you a sense of how the parties have been moving and which direction they've been going, and definitely want to encourage people to pay attention to the conventions and what the party platforms look like coming out of the conventions.
And start having those conversations with friends now, because people say, I just don't know. The personalities of these people running. It's not about the personalities. Focus on the policies that they're promoting, because we, as you pointed out, 75 to 80% of the time the parties follow those platforms. And what Joe Biden is doing right now, the Democratic Party, is actually in their platform.
That's right. That's right. He's not deviated far from the Democratic Party standard, and it's something that people can share. They can get a link from our website and share that with friends and family.
All right, Matt Carpenter, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for delivering those petitions to Capitol Hill today.
My pleasure, Tony. Thanks for having me.